Long ago, in a small town in Wisconsin. I used to make YouTube videos. Hey guys, I'm the Mighty Samsonite. It's been a long time since I've uploaded a video here, but I'm back to try and give this another go. I started this channel to showcase the things I build for the short films that I want to make. Once I got into the workforce, it became really hard to get on a schedule of working on something, or filming, editing, and uploading, while also working your daily job. But I'm working from home now, so I've got more time to spend on something like this. So I figured I would start off with something that would kind of get me back into the swing of things. And what I decided to go with this time is a lightsaber. And here it is, my lightsaber. It's not a working lightsaber. I couldn't source a kyber crystal, so it doesn't like emit a beam or blade, chop stuff up. It's also not one of these electric LED ones with the fancy soundboard in them. This is strictly a screen prop. As I mentioned, I've always wanted to make short films and stuff, and I've never used VFX. So I figured a pretty good place to start was lightsabers. They've been doing it since the 70s, so if I can't figure it out with technology now, there's something wrong. But anyway, today, I'm just going to show you how I built it. Even if you're not going to make it for a film or whatever, something even like this would look fantastic on a stand on your dresser or a desk or cosplay, whatever you're using it for. It's nice and heavy. It's not one of those rinky-dink plastic things you get from Walmart. I'm going to give you a short breakdown on what I did to build this thing. The first thing I did was went to my local hardware store. This time happened to be Lowe's. I went through the plumbing section and started looking at pipes and things, what I thought looked like it could be used in making a lightsaber. One thing I really wanted to go for here was building this like they would have back in the 70s. Finding things to give it the look they wanted. Not using a 3D printer or, I don't know, custom making parts. This was a low budget thing. I can't tell you what any of them are, to be honest, because I didn't write any of it down, because I didn't really plan on making an in-depth build. First thing I did is took this big part up here that's got the T-joint in it, I guess you could call it, to the bandsaw, because it was going to fit inside of this piece. This is actually something I'll get to explaining later. Anyway, I needed to shorten this so that it would fit inside of there and not be super long. Since I had this middle piece all there, I needed to build the back end. Right now, at this point, what I was building was the skeleton. And I took the big, long chrome tube with the flange on it, and I trimmed that down a little bit so that it would fit and not be too long. I did buy everything a little too big so that I could trim it down and figure out the scale, because I wasn't really going off of a scale of any one specific lightsaber. It was just what felt good in my hand, as it should be. Once the skeleton was there, I needed to figure out how to get everything to stick together. My first idea was rivets. They used plenty of rivets in the original Star Wars, and it looks cool. Granted, it got covered up. What I started by doing was wrapping a piece of paper around the metal coupler that was originally here, is underneath all these O-rings, to make a template for rivets all the way around. I separated them apart. There's 6 all the way around, 1 in each of these doohickeys. I don't know why, it worked out. So then I drilled everything out on the markings that I made on the templates, and I went underneath with a file and made it all smooth inside so that I could actually fit pipes inside. I knew I was going to be putting all these O-rings over the top as my handle. I knew I was going to have to stretch them over, or one end. They had to come from left to right. But I needed to start attaching stuff. I needed to get rivets underneath the O-rings. So what I did first was I riveted this bottom coupler piece to the center piece so that I could still get my rivets on but still continue to build. From there, I was going to build this big black, I call it a heatsink. I don't know the anatomy of a lightsaber. So what I did is I made a template for the PVC on what I wanted to cut out and the design. After making the template, I taped it onto the PVC and began drilling out anywhere that there was a hole or a curve. After drilling out the holes, I then took a sanding disc or a cutoff disc and cut out all the lines. I immediately ran into an issue as I did not know how to cut these bottom things without dipping into the side. I had a really old little rotary tool that I got from my mom, I think, when I started modding Nerf guns. It's terrible. It doesn't cut through plastic very well, but I needed it to look clean, and that's the best bet I had of getting there. I broke that thing out and slowly chipped away at knocking out all of the bottoms of the larger cutouts. One thing when I was cutting out all the vertical lines, horizontal lines, whatever, my cuts weren't perfect, so if you looked at them, they were a little goofy. You can kind of see in the picture. So what I tried first was taking some JB Weld and putting it along these surfaces to smooth it out. JB Weld didn't end up working, so what I did is just I put some tape on the inside of everything and then hot glued and, cut it so that it would look nice. After that was done, I took both sides to my disc sander and gave it a little chamfer, or whatever you want to call that, on the edges of this so it wasn't so harsh. I know that PVC does not take paint very well. And I wanted this to have like a good grip on it, and I didn't want it to be sticky. So what I ended up using was Plasti-Dip. I think it turned out pretty well. So what I did then was covered the long chrome tube with just some blue painter's tape, and then slid the heatsink cover over the top of it because I was going to mark out where my rivets needed to be drilled. The holes for my rivets need to be drilled. I taped up one of the springs that are in here so it wouldn't like flex. So I dabbed them in paint, and I just dabbed them right on the blue painter's tape, and from there I had a place to drill my holes. One thing I want to mention, that my original plan was for the there's a tube on the inside of this, and then there's that chrome tube that goes over the top of it. My original plan was for the rivets on the top here all the way around to go into the center part of the lightsaber, but they were not long enough. I'll get to more about what's holding the inside thing together in a second. So now that the bottom heatsink was pretty much done and I had all the holes drilled for where the rivets were going to go, I could actually start to put together the rest of the skeleton of the handle. So that's when I riveted on this top T-joint, I guess you could call it, and then it was just a long skeleton tube. The rivets were all in, holding the front and the back together, so I could put the O-rings over the top and screw it all in so it looked all nice. From there, I started to work on the button. I knew I was going to paint it red, and I knew I was going to keep this original thing on here. The actual guard didn't get painted until quite a while later, but painted that up with some Testors model paint, and it looked really good. So now that I had the bottom heatsink part and the chrome tube that went with it, I was able to start getting everything stuck in place. I made a electrical tape coupler so that it fit on there nice and snug. I was able to slide this on, and I put the O-ring over it, glued it all in, and this is going there pretty good. Now that the heatsink was done and the bottom tube was drilled, I actually riveted on this piece. That's riveted to the heatsink, and then the actual board itself is held in there with some epoxy putty. So then I was able to rivet on all my springs, which actually was a bitch. My rivet gun had really big little head on it, so I couldn't get it down in this channel here to, pop the rivet. So I had to grind the hell out of my rivet tip to actually be able to get it down in there. It looks really jank, but it worked. So now I had all the pieces to start putting everything together, and it was just a matter of just that, putting it together. I've begun with sliding all the O-rings where they needed to go, because obviously you can't get an O-ring over a big piece once it's on. Yeah, just built from the in out on either end of the center thing. The button was simply assembled with a bolt and the pieces that it came with. What you see right there is pretty much what you get. To secure the bolt, down inside I took a bunch of that epoxy putty. There was no real good way of getting it in here. I should have put it together long before doing this, and it might have been easier, but there's epoxy putty holding on the nut that holds the bolt in. Then screwed on these top pieces. This first one here is rubber. Slid it on, marked it where I knew it was going to be, and then I screwed on this chrome piece here, and then continued to screw on the top piece here, which is painted. It was a little like a gray blue instead of this black. The next thing, at the time I thought was the last thing, I wanted to get this little D-ring put on here. So I took the end cap that I found. This originally had 2 holes on it, so I cut that in half, drilled a hole, pop riveted, put some more epoxy putty around the clips that go inside, shoved it in, and that's where I thought I was done building. So I stopped doing pictures and stuff. I knew I was going to put a full blade down it, basically a green stick that I could edit out in VFX later. And swinging around that the big PVC pipe in there without something to actually lock it in was a little dangerous. So I ended up grinding the hell out of the inside of this coupler. A coupler takes 2 pieces. I wanted it to hold 1 piece. So I made it so that the PVC would fit nice and deep down in the coupler. Then I drilled some holes and tapped them out so that I could put screws in them. And now I can put a blade in there and it won't go flying. The blade, if you can see here, has a little notch on it all the way around so that it doesn't go flying. Yeah, locks in nice and sturdy. That's when I went back and painted the black and the brushed aluminum silver on the button guard here. I needed a place to display this, and I don't really have a lot, so I made a quick and easy little stand out of foam and some polycarb. At this point, I'm done, and it's ready to be used in the film. But the one thing I'm actually still a little stuck on, should I weather it or not? That's something I want to leave up to you guys. If anyone feels like leaving a comment, let me know if you think I should weather this up. Make it a little dirty and grimy, maybe a little rusty, scratched, scuffed, I don't know. So that's it. That's how I built my lightsaber. Please be sure to give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Please be also sure to hit that subscribe button because I am making a fight video with this. I need to make another lightsaber, which is something I do plan on making a video of. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. I might Twitch stream it. However I plan to do it, the best way that you are going to see it is by subscribing because it will make it here eventually. If you also want to follow me on a few other places, I am on Instagram. I do plan to update the story there as I'm building something. So if you follow me there, you can check out my story and watch me building stuff. I haven't started doing it yet because I don't have another project in line yet. I'm trying to figure everything out. Things are coming, and I'll see you guys next time. Deuces. May the Force be with you.